Well, kind of the start of playing baseball, a little more of a competitive situation, obviously. Hope to get a couple innings probably out of Jay and maybe Clark Schmidt. Um, the other guys to obviously start getting their work in live situations. You'll see some times today we'll have some fielders on the field as we build guys up. So infielders might be out there for 4 of the innings or so. Outfielders maybe 3 of the innings. Um, uh, some guys will be running the bases, some guys won't. It'll probably be more of a half, 3/4 speed guys running the bases as we build that part of it up as well. But just the start of trying to create and build those live reps as we're, obviously getting pretty close to the season and we just began.
How do you walk the fine line of wanting to get guys reps, but also not wanting to push them too far too early?
Yeah, I mean, those are conversations we have every day as a staff, you know, um, talking with the training staff and strength and conditioning and trying to make, really good evaluations as well as talking to the players about just exactly where they are. So as best we can, putting them in a really good position to build up properly so that they're healthy and strong as we enter the season, and then obviously even building up the first couple weeks of the season.
You mentioned that Clark Schmidt would be throwing today. What stood out to you about the way he threw during spring training?
Um, just pitch repertoire is excellent. His athleticism on the mound, which allows him to have a real clean delivery. There's an absolute presence to him. Like he believes he belongs here. So just you know, obviously I hadn't seen him in person to that point, and he came in obviously highly touted and um, he looked the part. So um, we're certainly excited about his development so far, and looking forward to seeing him go out there tonight and start building.
Thanks, Meredith. We could take our next question from Pete Caldera. Pete, if you can unmute.
Aaron, just curious what the weather situation does to your other plans before the inter-squad game today.
Yeah, so well, I'm sure you're looking at it right now. Is it raining?
You're on
Yeah.
mute, Pete. You're on mute, Pete.
Yeah, so we've got it covered right now. We think there's just going to be some pop-up things, hopefully. So we're still hopeful that we'll have some level of batting practice and on-field stuff prior to game time, but we'll just let the weather dictate that. For right now, it looks like we should be all right for game time, and we'll just work around it as best we can.
Take the next question from Christy Ackert. Christy, go ahead and unmute.
Hi, Aaron. There's a report out that you did not have testers show up yesterday, and also that one player has been tested 3 times and only 1 result. Could you just tell us a little bit about the decision-making on going forward with a workout after that?
We have not have testers yesterday. Say the one
I'm sorry.
3. The one tester for 3.
No, there's a report out that one player said he's been tested 3 times,
right,
and only has 1 result so far.
Oh, right.
I'm just curious about your confidence in the testing process and
Right.
the decision to go forward with playing.
Yeah, we're confident in the protocols we have in place. I know there were some issues surrounding the whole FedEx and the 4th of July weekend. We also feel like nothing's perfect and nothing we do is perfect, but we do feel like the protocols we have in place are giving us the best chance to be safe. And, whether tests are rolling in on a daily basis, every other day, the fact of the matter is nothing's perfect, and we're at risk every single day. Even if we have all negative tests that roll in today, the reality is that test was from 2 days ago. So each day that we're here, there's risk involved in that. That's why, as best we can, we're trying to mitigate that. I feel like we have a good system set up in place to do that. And hopefully over time, it proves its mettle.
Thank you.
Yep.
Take the next question from Eric Boland. Eric, if you can unmute.
Aaron, Jay Happ talked in the spring about how disappointed he was in his 2019 season, how motivated he was to have a bounce back year. In his few starts in the spring, what did you see from Happ?
Yeah, he was terrific in spring. Thought he was throwing the ball really well. He worked closely, obviously living down in the Tampa area. So he came in spring training and really ready to go and in a good spot. And frankly, we saw that the way he was able to finish the year last year, I felt like his stuff started to tick up again. I think he battled through some things last year. But I'm confident that if he's healthy and he's going out there and with his pitch repertoire, he's going to go out and have a very J Happ type season, albeit a shorter season. But feel really good about what we were seeing, and hopefully now that can continue now that we've started back up.
I'm getting a text from Mike Vaccaro. It sounds like he needs a little override. Mike, if we're just going to call on you, even though you're, I guess, unable to ask a question. Mike, if you can unmute, you can ask a question of Aaron.
Hi, Aaron. Thanks. I'm curious if you believe that the stuff you guys went through last year, the adversity, the injuries, did that put you in any kind of unique situation to be able to know that you can adapt on the fly like teams are going to have to this year?
I hope on some level, the experience we've gone through and the successes that we've had in adverse situation, hopefully, set the table, pave the way a little bit. Look, one of the conversations that we have as a team and that I like to have with our guys, at the start of spring training at different times of the year is, in talking in the context of a 162 game season, I don't care how great a year that you have, you're going to face adversity. You're going to get punched in the mouth. You're going to deal with some failures. In last year's case, obviously, it was a ton of injuries, and you've got to be able to navigate that. And part of being a big league ball player is being able to handle the adversities that are inevitable. And look, this year is a whole different ball game, right? It's a whole, different level of adversity that we could have even imagined. You couldn't have imagined this going into the year. I do feel like as much as anyone can be, we are equipped to deal with it, and we'll face it. And hopefully, as a club, we handle it really well. But we'll see. We know there's a lot of unknowns in front of us. And if there's anyone that I'd want to go through that, it's with the guys in our room that I feel like are equipped for it, but we understand how challenging it's going to be.
Next question from Sweeney. Sweeney, go ahead and unmute.
Hey, Aaron, as players are still debating how safe it is to participate, are you anticipating having to have conversations even going forward? Everyone's committed right now, but maybe a week from now, a month from now, as the situation changes, do you think you might have to have conversations and perhaps players drop out along the way?
Again, I think that's possible. For me to say anything's impossible with what we've gone through this year, I think would be a mistake. So we're just kind of really are taking this day by day right now. I feel like the resolve with our guys to a man is strong. But you never know what wrinkles get thrown at you along the way and what next week, let alone what tomorrow looks like. So we'll just kind of face it head on and try and be supportive of our guys the whole way through.
Take the next question from Henri. Henri, if you can unmute, the floor is yours.
Hi, Aaron. I'm curious if Masahiro has started any light exercise, and also if the concussion protocol goes well, when would be the earliest day to restart the baseball activity?
Yeah. I don't know what the earliest date. I'll start to ask that question later today and probably into tomorrow. He did ride the bike today. I think 15 or 20 minutes on the bike. So that's obviously another important step, as well as going through his baseline testing that he did really well on. So look, all signs continue to be encouraging with Masa. You know, as he got his heart rate up today, there were no side effects, no symptoms. So we continue to be encouraged, but you know, like what we're doing with in this new world of COVID, similar with Masa right now, we'll take it day by day, but I would just say we're very encouraged with where he's at and how he's responding.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Take the next question from Jake Seiner. Jake, go ahead and unmute.
Hey, Aaron, I got two. One's just a very quick follow-up to that on Masahiro. Is he technically still in the concussion protocol then?
Yeah, I believe he's technically still in it. Yeah.
Okay. My second one, different topic. Just as a baseball lifer, I was curious, one, how you feel about the new extra innings rule for this year? And two, do you think it will affect roster construction at all when we do get to opening day?
I don't know how much it'll affect roster construction. I think I'm okay with the rule for this year. I certainly understand and I'm on board with it. You know, I think it does tip the scales to favor the home team if you do get to an extra inning scenario with this rule in place. And, you know, I know I have a lot of our guys looking at it and trying to break it down and analyze it and, you know, see if there's any ways that we can best exploit it from a tactical standpoint. But I'm on board with it as far as, you know, staying away from that enormously long game that every now and then happens. I think that's a good thing for this year. We'll see how it looks. I don't really have a feeling on it moving forward. I wouldn't necessarily say I support it or don't moving forward. I'll probably have a stronger opinion once we've played with that for a while. But in the short term, I'm okay with it. I do think there's a tactical, some tactical advantages to be taken advantage of there if you can be smart about it.
Lindsay, go ahead and unmute.
Aaron, a few teams throughout the league said that they were tested on Friday and then hadn't received their test results due to various things. Did you guys receive your test results from Friday?
Look, I don't want to. I think some have. I don't want to get into commenting on the testing each and every day about, you know, how many negatives, did we have any positives, what came in. I really don't want to go down that road right now. All I can say is, you know, we're working closely with the league, with Major League Baseball, and making sure that, you know, we are as safe as can be expected in how we're, you know, conducting ourselves. And I feel good about us being here.
And I have a second, kind of unrelated question, but what exactly does do DJ and Luis Sessa need to do to get cleared to return? Do they need to test negative twice at home before coming for intake, or do they need to test negative and then fly in and test negative
I
twice?
think it's even a little more, there's a little more to it than that. I think you've got there's a joint panel that has to sign off on things as well. There's obviously a couple negative tests that have to happen, and that's got to be in conjunction with, you know, all the major league protocols.
John Schwartz, you have the next question. You can unmute.
Hey, Aaron, how are you? I was asking Matt Blake this the other day. I'm curious, how much are you paying attention right now to what other teams are doing around the league, not just like performance-based or anything, but literally how they're navigating this and trying to see, you know, in terms of inter-squad games and things like that, just kind of what best practices you guys can take in to kind of get yourself to July 20th?
Yeah, we're having those conversations to some degree. I've had a couple of conversations with other managers. I know Matt's had some conversations with other organizations. Other coaches of ours have had conversations with, other coaches or players in the league, just to, certainly get a feel for what other clubs are doing, maybe things that are working well for them, that are maybe good ideas that we haven't thought of, that not only help from a baseball standpoint, but just from a logistical standpoint every day, an operational standpoint every day. So we're trying to keep our ears and eyes open to that. And, I find right now too, that obviously, it's a competitive environment, but I think in all that we're going through right now, it does seem like the baseball world, the fraternity as a whole, are being very supportive of one another in trying to, help each other out whenever possible. And that's been my experience so far.
We'll take a last question from Marley. Marley, if you can unmute.
Aaron, thank you very much for joining us. It's good to see you. Aaron, if you can just tell us what other pitchers are you thinking of using today, weather permitting?
Yeah. Do you have the Britton, Ottavino, Canely, Lyons?
There's a long list. Marley, we will share that with you. I was going to try and do it as soon as we got done here. Yeah. And we'll try and do that every day around this time, 4:30. We'll try and get the lineup and all of the probable pitchers for each inter-squad game.